that is hilarious. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear us now?
I think Stuart's the blonde this morning. Hey, happy Friday,
It's
Stu.
Friday. Oh my God. Guys, can you hear us? If anyone can hear us, please on the
Benson
stream.
still can't hear us.
Oh, wow. These are, all right, hold on a sec. Oh, we can't hear you. We got no sound.
Uh-oh. Okay.
5 minutes. Hold on. We got a problem. Give us a second, yo. Give me 1 sec. Hold on. Let me just put up this banner and we sort out this sound.
1 minute, Stuart's fault.
Oh, you can hear us!
Okay, let's try again. Should we try again?
Guys, please, let me do this again. Oh, wow. Rewind. You know what? We're living in unprecedented times. Sam, get off the stage. I gotta do my run up again. Oh, wow. Africa. Oh, dear me. Oh, dear me. I can't believe it. Oh, I feel so silly. All right, Sam, roll up my track. We're going to start it out right from the beginning because we got to tell people what this is about. All right, so we are about to start. And of course, let me get rid of all these chats that we've got coming up. Yeah, we're going to start off just now with, it's time to shine tune. Give me 1 second. Oh, yeah. All right, here we go. Welcome, Africa. It's time to shine. We had a bit of a sound problem, but that's okay. We adapt and we go forward. Welcome to this Time to Shine show. It's Stuart Samkanga, your host on this show, trying to help you as a sales professional or as a sales leader or someone who's transitioning into a world where you have to focus on business development. Without further ado, I'm going to have to call up my guest, get straight into the show so that we make good use of your time. Thank you for your patience. I encourage you as we do this show to ask questions. It's about engaging and it's about helping other professionals. So tag someone. And as we do that, tell me which country you're watching from and help me, please welcome my guest and subject matter specialist, Samantha Coombe.
Okay, let's try again. Round 2. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Africa. Hello, South Africa. How are you?
Oh, yeah.
That was Stuart's dad. This morning. I'm the organized one that gets him to check the sound and make sure the mic is working. But nonetheless, I'm really, really happy to be here with you guys this morning, representing Ungenapi, an African proverb. I'm a KZN girl out of the heart of Durban. Really missing Africa this morning, Stu. That's why we decided to partner and decide to broadcast to you really what we want to teach you and what we want to empower you with on this Friday morning.
Yep, it's a Friday morning. We're going to make it fun. So without further ado, in terms of fun, one fun fact about you they don't know. Sam, what is it? That's not on your LinkedIn profile.
Oh, so for me, I think it's about flossing, to be honest. I'm a bit of a flosser. So those who know me, that have seen me on stage, somehow LinkedIn always manages to get me to do this because it's not what's on my profile. Maybe if we're feeling the jams at the end of the session, I'll show you a floss.
A floss. I like that. Well, we all know about floss mode as salespeople, I know. And today we're talking to sales leaders, sales professionals, marketing professionals. If you're on the stream, let's ask questions. Sam is a subject matter expert and is going to be taking us through what it means to talk about social selling and how to do that while still being mindful of your customer and mindful of your audience. I think that's super powerful, something we can all learn. If you got questions, midstream, I'm going to be bringing you up on screen and getting your questions shown to the rest of the audience and getting Sam to answer these questions, right? So
Be kind, guys. It is Friday.
It is Friday, Sam. So let's do this. Let's just share our screen here so that we can get started with this. Folks, ask those questions if you have them. Like we said, ask questions. This is all about you. All right, Sam. So take it away.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So I think a little bit of context before we start. In the light of, I suppose, the pandemic that we're all working through in our own capacity as businesses and professionals, we realize that the sort of brick and mortar world of social selling, of the way we do business, of the way we engage with customers has been completely disrupted. If it wasn't already and you weren't already digitized as a business, I think now was really, you know, a pivot in your business strategy, your business model about how you start communicating, how you leave your desk now when you actually can't leave your desk anymore and go and meet people and go and build relationships and networks. So how can we, as Stuart and Sam, empower you as Africa and whoever's joining from around the world to use LinkedIn to help grow your business, to keep it green during these times? I think also what's so key to remember around LinkedIn is that, yes, it's a talent platform, but it's not a job board. So stay tuned and I'm going to tell you exactly why. Okay, fantastic. So what is LinkedIn selling? How do we use social selling? How do we adopt it? What is social selling? How do we apply social leadership, which I think is such a key component of social selling?
Right.
And how do we actually leverage our leaders who are great brand ambassadors and champions to actually promote our business? Then lastly, how you build your strategy and you get started. So hopefully today you're going to have your own toolkit in order to be really superior social sellers on the LinkedIn platform.
Right.
And if you need any content after this, please feel free to reach out to Stuart or myself. We will hopefully make this into a series where in the next edition, we actually start to interview some really, really supreme social sellers, and we start to feature brands that are really, really doing well and telling their story.
Can't wait to do that, Sam.
Okay.
Can't wait to do that.
Fantastic. So first things first. Okay. So those who don't know me, my name is Samantha Coombe. I actually, like Stuart said, I'm a brand and digital specialist. So I was actually a client of LinkedIn's for a really long time at both the Rivco and RCL Foods. So I kind of have been sitting on both sides of the fence and have understood how to make the platform useful for best value for me as a client, and then how to obviously support my clients and customers and other professionals on the platform. So that's a little bit about me and why sort of I have the credibility to sit here and talk to you today. So if we think first around what LinkedIn's mission, vision, and values are, and how we can apply that then to our logic around how we use the platform. So LinkedIn's vision is to create this economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. And I think that's particularly why Stuart and I sit here in Dublin, often freezing our bottoms off, because we are so passionate around creating economic opportunity for every member of the African workforce and really connecting our Africans to that potential opportunity. And then LinkedIn's mission is around connecting the world's professionals to make them more productive and to make them more successful as candidates, as leaders, as sales professionals, as marketers, as educators, etc. So it really does cater for nearly every single person on the platform.
Sam, so that's LinkedIn's vision. How big is LinkedIn growing? You know, so help people understand when we start talking about an audience, how big that audience is.
Cool. So, I mean, across the world, I think we have over 600 million members. Now, the last time I think we're on 590, but more in South Africa, I think, as I move through this deck, you'll start to see the addressable market. And one thing I would encourage you to look at it is from the eyes, not only as HR professionals, but now as leaders, as potential members, and not necessarily just candidates.
Okay, Sam, I'm just going to close out these screens here so that people get an optimum view of your deck. So let me just quickly do that so that people can see that and allow you to continue with your presentation. So I'm just going to switch off your banner there, take you back, and let's go full screen.
It's view, Stuart. View, enter full screen. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
At the bottom.
At the bottom.
What would you do without me?
What would I do without
you? Guys can see we're partners in crime and work colleagues, right? Okay, fantastic. So we've reiterated LinkedIn's vision and mission. So now what's really key to remember is that LinkedIn, right, has over 650 million members. Now I just said 600. Jeepers, we're growing at a rate of knots. So really what is key to remember, right, is that LinkedIn is really representing the global workforce by collecting very different little pieces of data. As any right social media platform does about us. We can start to see hires, alumni, skills, industries, experiences, growth. We can see when industries are growing by their hiring capacity. We can see when industries are decreasing, different job verticals, etc. So how do we then start to mine what is this huge sort of data engine for the right type of insights that we need as marketers or HR professionals or sales professionals or even executives? So if we start to think about this, why is the LinkedIn platform so powerful? So members and companies update their information to achieve different goals. But what are these goals really? So I think for a long time, it's been seen as obviously business goals, right? About how we develop talent. But more so, it's actually how do we start to look at the platform with the lens, like I said, of marketing, selling, and learning and developing.
Right.
Then, so for professionals, alongside your business goals, you've got the ability now to build this network, to be able to stay informed and to be able to obviously advance your career. Because every member and company needs are linked, and supply and demand is really shared, right? So if we as professionals go onto the platform, we're obviously advocating our business goals and needs, and vice versa. When a business is present, when they have a voice on social media, we as employees feel so much more connected to that brand. So it really is a win-win situation for both a professional and a business to be on the platform and to own your narrative and your conversation. If we think about Kate, right? So Kate joins the platform and we immediately start to collect information about her identity. So she starts to build her network. Who does she add? Myself and Stuart, hopefully first. She then creates a profile. She adds her experience and her education and her interests and skills. So already we have a foundation of data points that we can work from. Then Kate starts to engage on our platform. So she visits company pages, she reads, likes, and listens. She sends a couple of messages, maybe to alumni or ex-people she used to work with. Maybe she reaches out and does graduate developments, etc. Then she joins groups because she wants to be part of conversations that matter to her in her industry. She follows certain thought leaders. She looks at certain professional development courses, maybe through LinkedIn Learning or what other peers are looking at. She seeks career advice and then potentially applies for jobs. But what is really interesting is that we then start to measure something called intent. So there we can see that she's running for local causes. She likes content from someone like Simon Sinek, for example, or another thought leader. She believes in mission-driven organizations because we can see that that's where she's clicking into organizations like that. She wants to develop her skills as a manager, and then she aspires to senior leadership because we can see that that's what she's posting about. That's the type of content that she's interested in. So there you can really see very quickly, we've kind of mapped out in hopefully a very non-creepy way, from engagement to basic profile data to actually intent of a member. So there you can see we're actually layering, a bit like an onion, 3 layers of key information or data points that then we can use as either talent organizations, if we have a recruitment strategy, or marketers, B2B, for example, to be able to use this information to find our customers or our candidates.
Wow.
Really powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, I can see this if you think about the buyer and trying to understand what drives and what motivates them and having opening conversations with them.
And as marketers, right, we always start with audience. I mean, the day of posting and praying is absolutely gone, when now we can really be so smart around who we need to talk to. But it all starts with identifying who your stakeholders are. So really, if we think of this mind that is LinkedIn, how can you really attract the niches or the verticals that you need to talk to as a business? Whether you're in construction, whether you're a staffing business, whether you're in tech, which we all know is booming at the moment, and you all need your software developers. But so how do we start to use this data in a constructive way to inform our strategy and then be able to obviously go to market with our unique selling proposition or our employer value proposition? So if we start to look at Africa with a particular lens, we have 7 million members. We represent over 21,000 skills. We, I'm sure by now, have over 106,000 companies on the platform. Definitely, I think more than 64,000 jobs and 8,000 schools. So like I said to you at the beginning of this, I mean, we're collecting data points, right? So 637 new data points are collected every 2 seconds. So that really makes you a very strong marketer, a very strong HR professional, and a very strong sales professional. But for so long, I think the market has looked at LinkedIn as a job board and as just a place where you go to look for jobs. I mean, I think, you know, for me as a young digital native, as somebody that really plays very much and solely in the digital world, I think that for a long time, I've even considered LinkedIn as just 7 million members worth of, you know, candidates essentially. But as I've been working now inside the business, I've started to realize that unlike possibly other social platforms, these are 7 million business members. So they're not necessarily maybe somebody sitting gaming at home in front of the Xbox that's following Harry Potter groups, etc. These are actually business professionals, right? Which means that the majority of them are gainfully employed. So they're actually really who you want to be speaking to. I mean, they're on the platform to be able to network. They're there with the intention for business-orientated conversations. So this is really a prime spot for you to really start, I feel, in any really digital strategy and developing your channel. Any questions, Stu? I can see you eagerly sitting next to me.
I'm sitting here is saying, oh, wow, people are enjoying the session. Let's call out some people. Thank you very much, Benson, for watching. I can see Amy's watching. I can see Dolphin's watching. Guys, we want your questions. This session is really about you. So you've heard about how you as an individual, just as a member, can start harnessing some of that data and analytics and insight on the platform in terms of understanding the buyer, the audience, and the community that you want to serve. That's where it starts. Having a plan of who you want to focus on.
Exactly. Cool. Thanks, Stu. So I think, what I was saying earlier is that we're not a job board. And if you can understand the way LinkedIn works, then it again can empower you around developing your strategy. Because the way that we look at LinkedIn, like I said, it is not a job board as opposed to your monsters, your Indeeds, etc. People actually come onto the platform with very little intent to often find a job. And this is why we break our platform up into two different types of members. We talk about something being, or a member being active or a member being passive. So essentially our platform has, those millions of members, but within a South African lens, we have 7 million, right, potentially members that are on our platform right now, according to our data.
Right.
80% of those members are something we consider passive. So they are not searching for an opportunity. They don't want to be attracted. They're probably very gainfully employed, very engaged in their job, and very happy, actually. They are open to be engaged, though, but through content marketing. Whereas active candidates who remain the 20% on our platform, those are searching and those are applying for jobs. So actually, if we think about our strategy, we cannot play at the bottom of the funnel. And when I say the bottom of the funnel, we cannot just go direct marketing all the time because people, or as we see our members, are not. Only 20% of them are actually gainfully looking for opportunities, whether they be career orientated or whether they be marketing orientated. The rest of the platform is there to engage with relative content to them and not be sold to. They're there to connect with leaders, to get their brands in front of people, to develop their careers and their learning, to be able to gain industry insights very quickly. Because now we know, right, media and social platforms are a way for companies to dictate and own their own narrative and feed that to consumers, instead of waking up and waiting for a newspaper or a media representative to put the story out there. So I think that's so important that we understand that we're talking to people that predominantly don't want to be sold to and don't want to apply for a job. So how do we then use those data and insights and come up with a content strategy that speaks to a passive member audience?
Sam, we've got a question, one of the first questions here coming through, and it says here, does the level of membership I have affect the depth of data that I have access to? Thank you very much. Really good question.
I think that is a valid question. So what our intent was today was to empower you around using your free, organic LinkedIn profile to be able to possibly do that, to promote your brand, to seek out B2B relationships and start to use it as a bit of a sales tool while recruitment isn't quite green at the moment. So what we're talking to you today is about your standard LinkedIn profile. And you'll see as we move through the deck, there's a couple of tips and tricks that you can apply using a standard LinkedIn profile. And actually, we had the idea of including a couple of slides about Sales Navigator, but this isn't a selling a selling session. This is really to empower. Because like I said, we realize there's really such a need to help people understand how to digitally get in front or promote their brand whilst this pandemic has really hit. And people are really disabled around physical meeting and one-to-one relationships again.
Sam, can I do a commercial break though?
Sure.
I got to pay the rent. So listen, if you are a sales professional and your organization is invested in Sales Navigator, I've been a sales professional for well over 20 years. Sales Navigator is amazing. I know this is not a pitch, this is not a plug, but have a look at it and think about it.
Exactly.
Back to you, Sam.
Cool, thank you. So as I was saying, just to wrap it up, why are people engaging with content on LinkedIn? Because it's educational, or informative. It's relevant to me. Like I said, I think we have the power now as marketers to really hone in and be able to cater to what people are looking for in terms of content, to stay on top of latest trends because it's inspiring and to improve their skills and development. So if we think of this again in a sales capacity, in a recruitment capacity, and in a marketing capacity, this will help you create content that actually drives engagement. So if we start to look at what social selling is, so this is obviously quite a new term, right? That's hit the industry, I think, in the age of the internet, etc. We've seen certain social leaders really rise up. We've seen social influencers and the age of influencer marketing and advocate marketing.
Right.
So now, how do we equip you around, understanding social selling? So what is social selling, right? Social selling is the ability to leverage your network and brand in order to start real conversations with decision makers or people that are important, while gathering intelligence on the accounts and leads that you care about.
Right.
So in essence, right, to take all the theory away, to check out all the textbooks, social selling is starting conversations that sell. Okay, so it's leading first with authenticity as myself and Stuart, and then sparking a real-time conversation using data and intelligence that you've gained, because we're now in a digital world. We can all be stalkers from the back, or not stalkers, sorry, that's not quite the right word, but Friday, we're feeling fun, but we can all be market intelligence professionals, from behind our computer. So really, why should we care about social selling? So here are a couple of metrics that really hit home, I think, especially in our own environment.
Yeah.
Sales professionals who use LinkedIn for social selling are 51% more likely to exceed their sales quota than sales professionals that don't. Sales professionals that use LinkedIn for social selling are 3 times more likely to exceed their sales quota. So that's Stuart smiling, right?
3 times.
And then 81% of your buyers are more likely to engage with a sales rep who has a strong professional brand. I mean, if you think about it just in your own capacity, and you think about your own suppliers that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, who are your favorites and why? Do they lead with the company, or do they lead with themselves? And do they self-promote or the corporate jargon, for example? Or they're actually, stringing together their own narrative and coming up with their own style? So what do we look at when we look at social selling, and really how to put it together? We look at 4 components, or 4 pieces of a framework, if you'd like to be really, really theoretical. So first is around creating this professional brand and leaning into that. Right. And that is one of my favorite topics, is personal branding. I mean, it not only, I feel, helps with your career development, but it really obviously sets you apart in whatever role you then go forward, right? Working on, because you're gaining industry insight, you're really developing networks, you're promoting brand, you're leading with brand and marketing, right? Which is what I specifically love to do.
Yeah.
So that's around developing a compelling profile, media and content, endorsements, and thought leadership. The second part is finding the right people. So once you've actually developed your brand, you then need to actually start to search and lead build and profile investigate, because that actually turns into your inbound profile views. Because if you start to think about the way you're digitizing your old school sales engine, you need to create inbound leads, right? And how do you do that? You need to, at scale, push out your content at the top of the funnel, right? So as many people as you can. You need to put them into your funnel, because now they're engaged with Stuart and they're actually, engaging with your content. When they start to actually look at your profile, that's then a time to lean out and lead, right? With actually investigating and sparking that social conversation that sells. The next part is to build those strong relationships. So now that you've found the right people, how do you actually start to build that credibility? So that's around your connections. How do you get really smart around building the database that's possibly aligned to your book, aligned to your career, aligned to your industry? There's something called multi-threading in sales, which is really important, right? It's the ability to speak to multiple stakeholders and align them to your vision and your mission. So how do you do that now? Again, that you can't walk into an office like LinkedIn and go and meet Stuart, go and meet Dave, go and meet Matt, go and meet Sam, for example. Now you've actually got to be able to do that digitally. And you can do that through mining and filtering the right connections, because that is essentially your database.
Sam, they say that decisions made by companies these days take about 6.8 people. Yeah. Literally 7 people.
That doesn't surprise me, Stu. I think that, everybody nowadays has to have visibility. I think with something like digital transformation too, if you're selling software as a service, there are multiple stakeholders involved with that, right? From your, chief financial officer through to your IT specialists and your recruiters. So how do you actually then multi-thread before you've even gone into an office, so that people know who you are and what you are there to do, instead of having to go in cold and hard like you would, in a very traditional environment. So then it's about, speaking to existing customers, finding new ones. You can have a 2-tiered strategy here. Then it's around looking at your acceptance rate. How often are your connections accepting you? What is your conversion rate? When we start to look at in-mails, how successful are you at crafting a message that sells or that sparks that conversation? Right. And then, like I said, multi-threading. And then lastly, how do you use all this activity that you've done to actually engage with insights? So engagements given and received. There we can see very quickly in our news feed what our own audience are looking at, what they're liking, what they're commenting on. That's where I think we're very lucky, and that LinkedIn is the 2005 Facebook, where you don't actually have to be connected to someone. So for example, let's use Stuart and myself. If I post something and Stuart and I are connected, he's got 24,000 followers, right? So I'm quite smart by doing this actually. And this is how you should be leveraging your coworkers and teammates. And I've only got 4,000.
The beauty about LinkedIn, it's about members. So yes, you can be tagged on a post and you can also untag yourself.
But the point I think being there is that, I would obviously tag Stuart or share something with Stuart. Yeah. Stuart then can like it. He doesn't even have to share it, right? And all of his 24,000 people see my content. So that's really fantastic, right? You don't have to be first degree connections to actually benefit from a network. Yeah. So use that. I mean, you as people, right, are the best brand ambassadors. We know this as marketers and branding professionals. Content shared. So around engaging with insights, on actually the search bar, which I'll get to in a few more slides, you can start to find and research trending content. You can start to use trending hashtags that make your content shareable and findable, which is also so important when you aren't working with a big media budget and you need to obviously scale your brand, is around using those people and those members to share your content. Business pages. So we've got all these business pages, right? If you just click on a business page, do you know that firstly, you can see their ads that they're running? Yeah. And secondly, you can actually see all the employees associated with that page. So you don't even need a professional tool, really. You can really start to just apply the basics with your regular LinkedIn profile. And we're not even talking LinkedIn Premium. Yeah. I mean, this is how much power the LinkedIn standard profile has at your fingertips. Then you can start to look at companies' pages and their jobs. Not to say again that you are a candidate, but you can start to see, okay, if I'm selling software as a service and this company is possibly hiring a lot of developers, I know that they have pivoted their strategy or that they are looking at scaling, that particular vertical of their business, or particularly maybe there's a new product that they need to go to market with. So how can we use the jobs and the jobs advertised to also empower us with key insights that are going to inform our strategy? Groups are another key part. I've seen more and more groups actually taking off. I've seen more invites to more pages, more invites to groups. Groups are key, right? Because people are also in there to network with industry professionals. They're in there to gain content and self-develop, right? So that is a really natural and organic place for you to start to engage in authentic conversations. And I'm not saying, please don't slide into a group and say, here's my link and here's my business card. Yeah.
Don't sell.
Don't sell directly. That's not the point in this. It's all around articulating your professional brand, leveraging and leading with insights about business, and sparking those conversations, as I've said, leading with content and insights that is key and that is interesting. Just because actually you've seen one job that they're going doesn't mean now you need to put a 20,000 deal on the table for a software product. That is around actually starting a conversation. Hi there, I actually see that you're the Chief Technical Officer and you've got 5 Java developers jobs open. Really would interest me to find out more about what products you're making. Or maybe you've actually gone and multi-threaded on the platform and found a piece of news about that company. How can you lead with data and insights like that? And then account mapping. For me, I think we at LinkedIn, we live on the platform, right? So how can you actually set up your book of business, start to follow all those leaders or decision makers right through from top to bottom, bottom to top, and actually start to account map? I mean, you can use things like LinkedIn Live. You can use things like content, just normal pictures, video, etc. We've now got stories. So how do you actually then create these little narratives based on your account mapping?
Sam, one of the other things that someone just asked about recommendations here and accessing executives, etc. I think what they were trying to articulate is the very fact that even with your free LinkedIn profile, you can go and look at if that executive has received recommendations from other people. Exactly. These could be conversation starters.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you start to look at the profile, there's been really a whole bunch of additions that have been made to our UX, right from giving recommendations to even trending employee content on live pages. So that, again, is individuals, right, that are contributing to the ABSA narrative or to the old mutual narrative, for example. So those, again, are your key professionals. And like those recommendations from other people, that helps you account map, right? It also helps you see if this business is actually working with this one, hey, they actually might be affiliated, and how do I then multi-thread across a broader and an account at scale to rather make an impact? So there you can start to digitally account map very quickly and without anyone really knowing, because you can also change on your LinkedIn profile your settings to hidden. So then it just looks like someone at LinkedIn viewed your LinkedIn profile as opposed to Stuart some cunt. Okay, so those are really, the 4 key fundamentals in social selling. Now, how do I get a bit deeper around this and how do I explain this around a sales funnel? So we all know we have a funnel. In HR, I talk to recruiters about funnels, around how you can't just recruit 50 software developers at once. They're not going to listen to you. As B2B marketers, we talk about you can't just pop up a lead gen form and expect people to leave you with their details.
Right.
And I think if we, roll it back a couple of years, and my mom would have said this to me in her day. So shout out, Mom. Good morning.
Shout
sales,
out, Dad. It was his birthday the other day. So happy birthday, Dad.
So really, it's around actually getting out there, right? And she always used to tell me about how she used to go and meet with customers and have to go and have meetings with them, etc. Now it's about developing this funnel, but in a digital age. So instead of, me getting up every day and going to see Stuart at the office, hi Stuart, I'm Sam. Nice to meet you. I'm hopefully inspiring him. He'll start to know my name. The next time I go and meet him, I'll put in front of him maybe something exciting about the type of work I'm working on, or how I can potentially maybe save him money or productivity, etc. going forward. Then the next time I meet Stuart, I possibly then say to him, that, listen, I've actually just won an award from LinkedIn. Did you know that, for maybe being the top consultant of the year? So I'm building some trust with Stuart. Then the last time I go and meet Stuart, I say to him, right, Stuart, I really think I've got a product that can work for you. But now that's 4 meetings. That's 4 trips, or actually 8 trips, because you've gone there and back to a client. You've probably taken a lot of time sitting in traffic, but actually you could have been speaking to a lot of other people at the same time. So how do we replicate this old school, in a sense, funnel, right, and make it digital? And that's all around content. So what we essentially need to do is warm somebody up to you, your product, your business, or your service. So what are we doing now? We're doing that with content. And if you think about it again from a personal standpoint, the example that I use quite a bit is Instagram, right? For us ladies, it's all around those shoes for me. So I'll see shoes on Monday in my newsfeed. The next thing I'll see Kendall Jenner, for example, wearing the same shoes. On Thursday, I would have seen potentially the shoes are now on sale, but on Friday, I cannot find the shoes. I remember the brand though. It's no longer in my newsfeed, but all I want to do is buy the shoes. So that's exactly what we're doing, right? So that by the time you're actually reaching out, you've built credibility in the mind of that potentially supplier or potential client, right? You've actually put yourself in front of them without leaving your desk. So again, applying that old school, I'm going to go and visit Stuart every day in the week to tell him a new piece of information. How from Monday to Friday can you craft a content strategy that educates about your business, creates excitement, then puts content in front of them that reinforces that credibility and authenticity. And then lastly, when you actually send that email, your response rate is going to be higher because you have warmed that member to your product or your service. So to those people who are sending emails, for example, and I get them often, and I actually take the time to reply to some people. And I say, listen, really appreciate your message and appreciate that you're trying to grow your business. But have you looked at what job I do? Have you looked at even where I'm based? Often I'll get like ladies trying to sell me, something that is, and I'm like, well, I'm actually in the industry and I'm trying to, sell it myself. So it's around using those key insights and data to actually warm your product and service before that. If we look at the impact, for example, of employer branding on recruitment, that is the whole idea, that your brand has done the heavy lifting. So when a recruiter reaches out, it's like, oh my God, I've just got accepted, or this recruiter's reached out to me, this company is thinking of me. It's exactly the same thing in a sales and a marketing world. The more we can push and lead with brand and expedite and scale into newsfeed, the better or the easier it is for you to then convert customers, for you to convert leaders around your product service or even around your personal brand. Again, if I just use a very practical example, if I'm a digital consultant and I just sent a very cold email into someone's inbox, hi there, this is my rate card. These are the services I provide. Thanks. No. Do you know how many times we all get spammed with somebody wanting to sell something? Whether I think it's in a please call me in South Africa, whether it's a WhatsApp business, whether it's an Instagram, Facebook, Google ads, those kill me enough. So, you've really got to be smarter. Now in an age that everybody's doing it, how do you actually cut through that clutter? Okay. And that's around building a funnel. So use this funnel, and I'm sure you will publish it afterwards, and we'll make the deck available. But use this and start to cater and curate your content strategy to a sales funnel, obviously with the intent of what you need to do. And every vertical will be different, and everybody's style will be different.
Got a question for you from Amy. Thank you very much, Amy, who's watching.
And Amy's a good friend of mine too. We went to school together. so thanks, Ames.
So Amy's saying here, what are your thoughts on more personal sharing? In brackets, she says here, always with a professional lens, to reiterate that business people are humans too.
So Amy, I think that is an extremely valid question, and a big shout out to you actually, because I've seen you do this on the platform, and you've led with Amy versus your business all the time. So I think that's incredibly brave and authentic. So well done. And yes, I mean, from a practical point of view, right? If I look at media, and if I look at the way campaigns are scored and how they perform, content that is in that sort of corporate jargon look and feel, with a template, with your logo on the left-hand side, with the CI, it is so over stylized that actually it gets no engagement, because it's not seen as authentic.
Yeah.
One of the biggest trends in 2019 and coming into 2020 in social media was something called dirty footage. Now, it's not what you think, Stuart. No, it's really not what you think. But
dirty footage is Friday.
But the whole idea really is around, Stuart and I sitting here, to be very honest, with a filter light, a laptop, and a couple of iPhones. Like, this is not an overproduced event. We haven't paid a lot of money to be able to do this. And that is the idea, right? Is that's dirty footage. It's being able to take real time, really gritty and authentic content. And that actually really drives engagement rates. Because if you think about it, you see a picture of a company or you see a brochure, and it's those people, right, that are sitting there holding the coffee cup going, who actually does that in an office? It's terrible. So actually, when you see real people, you actually see faces, right? Social media is one big referral network, actually, if you think about it. We buy or we apply for a job because we see that Stuart or Sam have done it, and they're affiliated to those brands. So again, I think, Amy, extremely valid and important question. Yes, you need to lead with more people-orientated content and be way more authentic. That's how you stick out and become a thumb stopper in a world full of scrollers.
Yep.
So moving on, looking into your professional brand.
Right.
So your professional brand is really a brief statement that summarizes your strengths, how you differ from your competition, who you are, what makes you great, and why you should be hired or really contracted. Your brand communicates your reputation and value to a potential employer or customer. So 81% of buyers are more likely to engage, like I said, with a strong professional brand. 35% of reps that exceed quota, and they get 35% more page views. So that is around, remember, driving your content strategy, driving your funnel. Because the more page views you get, the more inbound leads you're actually creating for yourself. And then 92% of B2B buyers engage with sales professionals if they are known industry thought leaders. Right? So we know with sales and marketing, it's all around that credibility. So actually, the more you are seen as endorsed by your industry, the more people want to work with you. We had a funny incident where we were changing over, somebody reached out to Stu and wanted to work with them as a relationship manager. And I was like, oh, but at the same time, that speaks, right, to his brand and his industry advocacy. Everybody is behind Stuart. So actually, Stuart is seen as, the guy that really knows what he's talking about, which he really is. I'm not just saying that. So really, so it's around that professional brand, right? And leading with that authenticity. Your professional brand is also key to new opportunities, right? It doesn't only obviously help you sell, but it gives you credibility for your next job or your next play, right? I think dropping off a PDF CV, the age is gone. It also drives referrals, like I said. So social media now is one big referral network. Monkey see, monkey do type of thing. It attracts new business contacts. So whether you're a new business, whether you're existing business, whether you're a CEO, you need to be constantly communicating and keeping your business brand and social leadership brand top of mind, especially during a pandemic when actually, people aren't driving up and down the highway perhaps to see a big billboard. They're now on Netflix, right? Because they don't want to see adverts anymore. So how are you actually leveraging something authentic like a leader instead of promoting all the time from your company? So if we start to look at now, obviously we've created this professional brand. How do we engage with insights and why is it important?
Okay.
Because we're able to stay informed, right? everything on social media is real time. Sometimes I've found actually, in particular with a couple of the companies I follow, the news is slower than LinkedIn is because actually, again, businesses are controlling their own narrative.
Right.
They're not waiting for the media or someone to come and do an interview. Know when to reach out. Again, you can see somebody's activity, right? You can actually see when they're online or when they've read your message. Like that's the data that you're getting.
Yeah.
You can now start a conversation. So yes, okay, LinkedIn Premium only gives you the ability to send an email, but all you need to do is connect with someone. And some people say to me, oh, not everyone accepts my connection request. Well, my very candid feedback would be, well, what does your profile look like? Because I'm also very fussy. I'm not just going to accept somebody where I can see their selfies from Snapchat, where I can see they're actually not going to add value to my network. So I'd rather actually just decline. So again, think about how you're leading, right? To be able to start that conversation.
I usually go with 2 insights.
Yeah.
I'm going to lead with 2 insights. One insight on the person that I'm reaching out to. So I've read something from you. So LinkedIn is a great platform to promote other people and to recognize them for what they do. And then the second thing is then another insight from their organization. So I've done the research. I've read up about their organization. Then someone will connect with you because you've touched me as a person and you've touched me as a business in your intro and you're not selling.
No, not selling. And that's the key, right? How to social sell with social distance is not actually about selling. It's content marketing, professional brand, and insights. And then obviously you increase your response rates. Like I said, the more you lead with brand and authentic content, the more richer your responses are going to get because now you are a credible individual. And then you have that competitive advantage, right? You can see what your other professionals are doing. Like Stuart and I, we're in the same industry, but he's got 24,000 followers and that irritates me. So really, that's my driver, right? To keep building my community.
Thank you, Africa.
Yeah, there we go. So why should we engage with insights? So again, using some data that really speaks to us, 74% of reps that exceeded quota get more engagement, 74% more engagement. Nearly 64% of B2B buyers report that they appreciate hearing from a salesperson who provides knowledge or insight about their business. Again, using LinkedIn, you can pick up content that is trending about your industry, send it to one of your decision makers. You look extremely credible and like you care and that you've done your research. And that was really only a 3-click process. You're 70% more likely to get an appointment or an unexpected sale if you're a member in a LinkedIn group. Again, you're leading with an authentic and very real strategy versus just sliding into someone's DM to send them a form or to get a call with them.
Give more than you take. Give.
Excuse me, sorry, I didn't pick up. Yes, give.
Grab some water there. I'll give you some water, Sam. That will help.
Thank you. So now, for example, right, so building relationships. So this is where you can use your LinkedIn profile, again, your standard profile, to be able to research and actually align to your book of business, come up with your existing or new business customer segments or channels, etc. So just by using your search bar, you can search construction, you can search commerce, you can search internet, you can search banking, and you can search people. You'll see there's a lovely little filter at the top that goes content, company, people. I think the other one is connections now. Now you can actually go and look exactly at the type of people that you're looking for. And I think LinkedIn does stop you from connecting just so that you don't spam. So, I mean, I think it's something around 10 or 20 that you can connect with a day. So there you can start building a database. And this was just an example that I did for another company that was interested in seeing their addressable markets. So this was a brand that had, only a handful of 1,000 followers, and they didn't really believe that there were many people in the construction industry on LinkedIn. So I just did this exercise to show that within South Africa, executives in civil engineering and construction, there were 140,000 people. So, there is just within construction, right, where we would never think LinkedIn would really be a prominent channel because it's very much a brick and mortar, very much a traditional type of industry. So there we can see very quickly you can build relationships at scale. When we talk about developing your network, so that's around searching for content and conversations. So I've always said your network is your net worth. Okay. Yeah. Think about it again. Back then, I think a couple of 10 years ago, when actually, you'd walk into a room, maybe you'd be greeted by a lot of people, a credible speaker would walk onto the stage. That's around building, right, credibility through your network. Now you do that in the internet age. Okay, so with over our 500 million registered members, we can now mine that for content and conversations. As I said, that search bar on the top of your LinkedIn profile is more for than just looking for a company or a person. You can search trending content. You can search company moves, etc., company developments that you can then leverage to start a social conversation that sells. So when we look at these two leaders, and obviously this works very well in a normal forum, and Stuart, I don't think I'm going to ask you the question, but very simply, does anyone know who the gentleman is on the right in the blue shirt?
Well, let me see on the feed if you got answers coming in. If you are watching, tell me who is the gentleman on the left and then the gentleman on the right.
No, I just said the gentleman on the left.
On the left, sorry, just the gentleman.
In the blue shirt.
In the blue shirt. Who's the man in the blue shirt if you're watching the stream?
Okay, I'll give it a few seconds.
We'll give it a couple of seconds. Come on, folks, you're watching. This is about you. You're a professional. We're asking you a simple question. Who is the gentleman in the blue on the left? Sam, I
love this question, though, because I would have thought the man on the left's better looking than the man on the right, so everyone would know the man on the left. But, actually, if we consider who these two individuals are, the man on the left is Michael Dell, right? He's the visionary. He's the CEO around Dell. Information technology, the hardware products, right? The man on the right, as we all know, is Steve Jobs. But actually, Dell was around before Apple. They're a much sort of hardier hardware, if you'd like to call it that. And definitely, I think, with my experience, a little bit less temperamental than an Apple computer or Apple products. But here we all are, especially Stuart and I. I'm kitted out Apple head to toe. I've influenced all my communities around me, and I'm a diehard fan. And that is only because of the way, well, maybe this is to me particularly, but Steve Jobs shone as a leader. He stepped out of Apple or alongside Apple, and he actually spearheaded that brand and that business. So a lot of our brand affinity and our brand love comes from buying into his mission and vision as a leader. Okay. And that is where Michael Dell perhaps missed a bit of an opportunity there to actually start to lead as himself first and not as a business. Because if you think about it, the world went mad for Steve Jobs' innovation. That we loved how he wore all black. We've actually developed an Apple community based on that brand, that vision, that mission, that leadership style. I'm an aspiring potential employee one day again, just based on what I've learned about that business through his leadership style, through what he thought about technology and innovation. So there in itself, right, leads me.
I'm going to step in for Michael Dell there. He's doing an incredible thing that I just also want to share because it's important, right? So yes, there was a missed opportunity, but there's always an opportunity to make a comeback story. And he's a fantastic comeback story. Recently, I saw he's telling stories online to his employees' children as a leader.
That's amazing.
So he's doing Zoom sessions or Teams or Skype or whatever technology they're using, having these sessions to read stories to the children of his employees. That's true, authentic leadership.
Yeah, that's different, right? It doesn't have to speak to, vision and mission around technology. And not for 1 minute am I saying any of these leaders are less credible than the other because they're social leaders. But what I'm saying is that, it was an incredible insight for Apple's probably comms team and PR manager to pick this up as potentially a brand advocate and to drive a social strategy like that and a social leadership strategy to endorse the Apple brand. So there, I think, kudos to their marketing and comms team. It's got nothing to do potentially with the leadership and the value that the different businesses have. This is really around actually how they've leveraged that as a brand channel, right? A channel to market, whether it be an employee focus or a potential customer B2B focus.
Well, it looks like Emmanuel here, who's also got thousands of followers and is one of the 100 most influential global HR leaders, is watching. He says here, Sam, you're doing well.
I've seen but can't recall his name. Oh, thank you. But at least, that really strikes home, right? So everybody's seen this guy. We know kind of who he is, but he never got to really shine, right? Like Steve Jobs did. So how do we do that for our leadership? How do we create the Dominic Sowelas for Barloworld, the Mteto Nyatis for Ultron, the Adrian Gores for Discovery? Adrian Gore doesn't just stand up and advocate for the employer brand. He advocates for that corporate brand, Discovery's mission and vision for developing communities, government engagement, media engagement. He owns his own brand. And essentially, that is what I'm trying to get you to understand and potentially apply into your own world and into your own leadership. So when we start, to look at this practically, again, who would you rather buy from?
Yeah.
And this really, I think, speaks as, an extension to my previous slide, is that's why half the time I won't accept connection requests, because the poor profile on the left looks very sad, whereas the profile on the right looks extremely credible. Although I would love him to have a cover photo because I'm a branding and marketing professional. But we can really see now how really visually, just off the bat, it makes such a difference. Never mind that I've actually read the profile, right? So we know that it takes 5 seconds to sum up your opinion about somebody. I think it takes exactly the same in a digital context, and nothing has changed. So in my 5 seconds of looking at these two profiles, I automatically would reject the one on the left, but I would definitely consider accepting the one on the right.
Got a question for you that's just come in. Thank you very much. So there's a question here that says, it's coming from Sam Karaoke.
Oh, Thank you. Sam. From one Sam to the other.
One Sam to the other. It says, how can a salesperson build their social media presence while their employer is not keen to go social, especially when you've just started on this?
So I think, there we can learn, I think, actually practically from maybe Stuart and myself.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily lead with LinkedIn, right? We are known for working at LinkedIn, possibly for what we talk about, our professional and work ethic, and how nice we are. But we actually lead with Stuart and Sam's brand. And I think that's so important, that whilst your company may be conservative, definitely start to lead with your own industry insight, right? So yes, let's say Stuart and Holdings might not want to communicate from their business page, but Stuart, in the work that he does around the oil and energy business, can start to post little articles about company mergers, about CSR projects, around innovation, research and development that's happening in the industry. And you don't have to share it from your company.
Yeah.
You don't even have to really mention your company. This, remember, is about positioning you as a thought leader, around positioning you as an industry expert. So whilst I think it's a good idea to be a brand advocate, if your brand is not looking for advocacy on the platform, it doesn't want you to share, firstly, send them to Stuart or myself. We need to have a big conversation with them.
Send them this way.
Excuse me. But secondly, lead with you.
Yeah.
Because it's only going to develop your book of business. It's only going to develop your brand and going to help with your next play.
Superb. Thank you, Sam.
So moving on, what's important to remember, as I've said throughout this presentation, is your brands are interconnected. So what talent says impacts what consumers buy. What consumers buy or don't buy impacts what shareholders invest in. So there we can see that, from a practical level, they're all connected, but also from a visual level, right? The content that we talk about from Talent Brand, here are these developers that made this great app, actually gets consumers excited because they know that credible people are making their products, right? And vice versa. If we're able to push out great consumer content about a new peanut butter, for example, that's been launched. So I'm hungry, you can tell, and I'm really wanting a tub of yum peanut butter at the moment. I've been away for too long. So the way, you develop a new chocolate peanut butter, for example, speaks to the R&D professionals or the national account managers or the brand managers that worked on those products. And then both of those activities speak to your shareholders, speak to your government engagement, etc. If you show, for example, on the platform, you've just hired 100 graduates, that is really good faith in terms of showing the government, showing the media what you're doing to develop South Africa. Okay, so if we start to think of the impact that all these 3 brand bubbles have, it's so important to have a presence, to own your conversation, because someone's going to, right? And you need to actually be at the forefront of that. And you need to think of who your stakeholders are that you need to speak to, divide your company up or your team up or yourself up, and say, right, what are the 3 channels I need to develop? What are the key messages I need to drive? Who do I need to be talking to drive these strategies? And how do I then start to measure them? If we start to look at what these different brands are, a consumer brand, as we all know, speaks to the products and services and the attributes.
Right.
The corporate brand helps customers and candidates connect to the bigger business goals and identify a wide range of products and services over time. If I can use like RCL Foods, because I work there as an example, the consumer brand was the Mecheo, it was the Yum Yum, it was the Omar, but the corporate brand actually spoke to an umbrella of all those products. Right. So when RCL went to market then as we are RCL Foods, the brand affinity was there because they leveraged consumer brand and vice versa. And then talent brand, right, is the attributes and the value that's associated with your company as a place to work. So there we can see how those 3 brands are so important in actually your go-to-market strategy on the channel. Any questions, Stu?
So I love that. Elizabeth just came on and says,
Yes.
sorry, I'm late. Elizabeth, it's like class. You're going to have to stay behind and do extra work. It's Friday. So I love that.
Okay.
She says, sorry, I'm late. And Sam says, thank you for the answer. Guys, ask questions. Sam is here to help you. Our Sam here is here to help you. She is a specialist in digital brand marketing and brand engagement. So you as a seller, you as a salesperson, you as a leader, you as a business development individual, or you as a director and owner of your organization, this is your time to ask questions on how you bring out your brand, your values, and engage the audience that really matters. But engaging them smartly, as we said at the beginning of the show, it's not about getting into groups and selling. It's not about reaching out to someone and as soon as they accept, you're trying to sell. You need to engage at least 5 times with my content or with me before you can even start asking for a meeting. Mm-hmm. So let's engage smartly, Africa. It's time to use the insights that Sam has been talking about. And I see a lot of you are asking the questions of, will this be
lots of questions.
Yeah, will this be have a look at it. Will this be a recorded session? Yes, it will be a recorded session. So you can watch this later on, read through the slides, and again, engage with Sam or myself after this session. So I will ask your questions. So it says here, Delphine, thank you very much. And I see people are pressing the hearts and the little reaction buttons. Yes, that's it. Show us some love. Show us some digital love. It's Friday, guys. I've got a question for you. Delphine says, question, if you're starting out and considering the sales path, where do you begin to start showing this?
Jeepers. So where do you begin to start showing your sales?
Yeah.
So
where do you begin and show?
So wait,
Delphine, we'll probably need you to break it out on the case of different brands, especially on different individual profile.
So that would almost be, Delphine, I'd encourage you to go and look at that framework. When this video is over, it was the 4 frameworks: creating a professional profile, building relationships, finding the right people, and engaging with insights. That really would set you up for basic success around how to actually start. So happy for you to connect with us individually, but I'm going to carry on in the essence of time because, as usual, African time, we are late, Stuart. So moving on. Why are employer, corporate, and consumer branding so important, and why are they tightly linked together? A customer is 33% more likely to hear from someone within the company rather than marketing. Again, right, so if your leaders are leading for you and leading authentically, that your customers would rather hear from them, right? Then again, your company page with the same employee hashtag, with the same CI template, etc. 78% would rather talk about a bad experience they had with a potential employer, with friends and family. So there we see consumer-employer branding linked. And it's also directly impacting your bottom line business results, right? So 32% of job seekers reported that they are less likely to purchase a product from a company who never responded to them, right? So think about how powerful that is. If you're just acting as a brand advocate on behalf of your sales team, as a marketer, as an HR professional, you are helping your business and promoting its growth.
Yeah.
Companies with engaged employees, right? We know when social leaders are on the platform, employees are more engaged.
Yeah.
But companies with engaged employees, we know, earn twice as much revenue, 4 times the profit, and have double the client satisfaction of those who don't. So there you see you're missing out on an opportunity by not investing in the channel. So employees at social organizations, again, why it's so important, thinking about the impact on productivity and revenue, right, of taking this big brand step onto the platform and investing in the channel. 27% are more engaged, so employees at social organizations.
Right.
20% of these employees are more likely to stay, so that's retention check.
Retention
especially
check.
in an age where software developers move around and it's really just a big hub, essentially.
Right,
20% of those employees are more inspired, and 15% are more connected to co-workers. And we know when we have a more connected organization, again, it speaks to engagement, which speaks to productivity, which speaks to revenue. Okay. So executives at socially engaged companies are also 50% more likely to encourage employee use of professional social media. So if you can get your leadership online, that's really, half of the problem solved, because then employees will follow naturally. And, I've dealt with very interesting executives right out into possibly the manufacturing environments, etc., right through to the more technically savvy, technical CEOs. And it's all around creating this champion mentality where you put one on, the engagement starts, and you feel the impact. Those of you that have recently started a LinkedIn journey, I know I did, from getting 1 like to now over like 20,000 views. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And then you mine that network for the insights or the action that you need.
Got a question for you coming
Yes.
in. How do you tell it's time to take the relationship further? Not to try and pitch too early or failing to pitch till it's too late.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all around that conversation, right? So actually, as a sales professional, we know that we need to do a disco. So what are you leading with? What is that
Discovery,
piece of content?
right?
Yeah, a discovery, sorry.
Because I was already like, oh, it's Friday, disco.
But really, what you need to be doing is leading with that inside, right? So you catch them, think about your funnel or liking their content, so you've engaged already. You need to lead with that industry insight. And then around your questions, etc., you'll know when the conversation's over if there's no buying. Right, you'll know, and that's around doing a thorough discovery and actually, not wasting your time at the bottom of the funnel, but assessing very quickly whether the business need is there. You would also know very quickly from following the company page, from actually following that individual, from following other employees, what is happening in that business, and if they even have the capacity, whether it be financially or from a utilization and resource point, to actually implement that product or solution. So, there's a couple, like using that framework, engaging with insights, mining the platform for that particular company, employee, jobs information to understand whether you're even suitable before you've even crafted a message asking them to buy anything. So building your social selling strategy, I think this is what a lot of people have been waiting for, right? Is this framework.
This is it.
So you need to build profiles of key leaders. Like I said, look back into your book of business. Who do you need to be talking to and map them out? It's annoying, right? Because yes, you do have to look at a list. Who is a Stuart Sankanji? Let's type it in, add him as a profile. Let's look at who else is connected to him and build a network. But once you do this, you are building the foundation. Build content pillars for your leadership to drive. So again, if you're in a software business, how can your leaders start to talk about AI, start to talk about automation, start to talk about digital innovation or digital efficiency? Those are 4 key trending themes that you didn't really have to think very hard about because they are trending out there. So how do you then tailor potentially your unique selling proposition to an AI conversation? Mapping stakeholders that are key to growth, regions and functions. So not only are you building profiles out of key leaders and developing their profiles, you're now also mapping other stakeholders for your leadership to talk to. You're developing a content strategy for company to employees to share. So there you are, sales professionals, maybe all marketing professionals or leadership on this call. You obviously need a basis for your employees to work on. And that is where, yes, sometimes it does start with a template look and feel because people are scared to post. If you as a business don't have a social media strategy or guidelines, employees will be very conservative. But that's when you leverage your champions, right? You develop narratives, you post as a company that gives your employees something to share and something to help, warm for your sales teams, for your marketing teams, for your executives, so that by the time they reach out again, they have seen your brand, whether it be from an employee, from a customer, from a shareholder, etc. And then that's where you can create. And when I say templates, I'm not talking about those heavily CI ones. I'm talking about a couple of phrases where you could say, today is Motivation Monday. Choose one of our motivations that embody you and post it if you feel comfortable. So again, it's about authentic, right? That dirty footage, finding something that people can connect to. Nobody's going to share, this is our webinar on the 9th of April. Please join us, sign up here. Like, I think there's nothing worse. But if somebody said to me, my teammate Stuart has gone out of his way on a Friday morning to develop a deck on how to use your platform in a completely free way to better your sales career. Doesn't that sound so much more exciting?
Yeah.
So there we go, right? Not join the webinar or download this PDF and sign up to the ebook. Oh my goodness.
Sam, I got a question from Benson. Thank you very much for watching, Benson. Benson says here, I usually see a lot of offers on LinkedIn posts, discount offerings, etc. But from your presentation, you indicated this might not be the right approach. You said the aim is not to sell. Please clarify.
So you see, that's where, and coming from a media role, not a lot of brands are understanding that there is a funnel. So just like Benson, you've mentioned, oh my gosh, a lot of brands are trying to sell to me. Do you even remember what those brands were? Probably not, because they didn't leave a very good impression. And that is exactly the point. Yeah. You didn't, if you'd come to me and said, Sam, I'm so inspired. This company looks so cool. Look at the cool work they're doing. They've already sold to you. They've converted you in your mind. Instead, the brands that have left an impression with you have just left a bottom of funnel impression. Right? So maybe you don't remember, but you probably won't actually maybe want to work because they didn't actually add value. Yeah. Right? Because if they had developed a full funnel strategy, you would have really been converted and very excited by the time you got to that selling or that discount layer of the funnel.
I'm in sales. Can I make a confession?
Sure.
How I manage my content is 20% of it is promotional or related to the products, the solutions, and the services my
Only
organization.
20%.
Yep, and that's it. 20%, right? So the remaining is about enabling, engaging, educating, exciting my network, empowering them. So help, give. Giving it back to you, Sam. It's Friday.
Friday, half hour for Friday. So just wrapping up here. So how to build your social selling strategy. These are a couple of key themes, again, alongside that framework that we discussed earlier on the presentation that you should layer in order to help you and empower you around becoming a social seller. So when we start to think about getting started, here are a few practical tips. And I'm going to go through this quite quickly because, again, we've run way over time. And we actually have a meeting to get to at 10 o'clock. So sorry, Matt, but create an effective profile, okay? A couple of things, like from an algorithm point of view on the internet, LinkedIn will deprioritize your LinkedIn profile if you don't have a photograph. Okay, so there's a couple of key things to remember. Even if you don't want to put a huge profile together, there are a few things you have to do, right, to even just be found or searched on the platform. Your profile picture, again, no Snapchat, no bunny ears, something very professional. I want to know who I'm giving my $20,000 to and to make sure that actually, they're going to do something meaningful with it. Your summary. So this is a personal note, right? And if you think about the way you search for people, this is where LinkedIn are picking up all its keywords. So your summary, you want to put an essayist professional, 10 years experience, working with decision makers. You don't just want to say, I've been working for LinkedIn for 5 years, looking after GM and media in GM. Okay, that's nice. What did you achieve? Why are you going to help my business? Actually, if I just marketed myself like that, I don't think anybody would want to speak to me. So I just sound like a boring person. So think about it from an algorithm point of view and a brand point of view, how you can leverage your summary. And your headline, again, this is so prominent. Another example is, I think my headline is developing growth strategies and creating digital brands in Africa. Okay, I'm a relationship manager. I could say relationship manager Africa versus, creating growth strategies and developing brands digitally in Africa. Which one sounds like I'm actually going to add value to your business, and which one even sounds exciting enough for you to accept? So again, guys, this is a branding exercise, right? It is completely leading with brand.
And again, there's so much that people are consuming. So keep it simple, guys. Being wranglers and all sorts of other fancy words might even confuse your customers. So talk about the value that you're going to bring, like Sam has done with her profile. And again, what I've done with my profile is choose to use hashtags, because I know the technology is going to use algorithms to pick up on the specific areas that I champion, which are Africa, jobs, and of course, graduates and students.
Fantastic. Thanks, Stu. So once you've created that effective profile, for a lot of people, it actually is especially more leadership. Obviously, the more popular the leader, the more they're going to be infiltrated, right? And especially for you, particularly as different individuals at every different level that is on this call today, you can actually go and control your privacy and communication settings. You can control if you're seen on Google. So if somebody searches Stuart LinkedIn, do you come up first in the SEO of Google, or do you want to take that away? Do you want people to see your connections? Do you want them to not? Do you want them to have access to your email? So here you can really control it. So even if you're thinking, oh God, I don't want to go on LinkedIn and get all those stupid invitations. Or,
as a salesperson,
exactly.
No, you would want to.
You would want to, you would think, right? And hopefully we've inspired you to do that. But for a lot of other people, especially at that, that C level that you're trying to get on, this is a major concern. They don't want to be bombarded. They're busy. Maybe you do too as marketers or recruiters. So here you can control that. And here's a way for you to promote, actually, if you aren't already showing yourself on Google, where you would go and do it. Then be a voice in your industry. So I used the example earlier of Adrian Gore, right? So he is a voice in the industry, not again just for discovery. He is a thought leader within the medical space, within insurance, within technology in South Africa. He's leveraged to be put on boards of other organizations, etc. Again, not just because he's the CEO. There's lots of CEOs in South Africa that are doing a great job. But because I think he's advocated and he's amplified his social voice, he's able to actually have a seat at that table. And he's invited, his comments are invited and welcomed. And when you think medical aid in South Africa, I think discovery, right? And that's what he has done for his brand.
I think of another brand as well.
Oh, there we go. What's your other brand?
TIH.
Oh, of course, Telesure Insurance, because then you'd have Hippo, etc. But I
That's
suppose, again, for me, that speaks to brand, right? I've seen the leadership of Discovery come out and be authentic in my newsfeed. So that is what is top of mind for me. But again, yes, there are lots of others, but how do we then leverage your leaders and create them as champions?
Is definitely a champion voice.
Yeah, so offer an authentic human face to your company. I really feel Dominic Sawela does this so well, and I'm such an advocate. I mean, he did such a beautiful series, packaged and put together by Michelle Strauss and the communications team, but he decided to lead through this pandemic with his own videos and his own narrative. And that went out first on his own profile, then secondary Barterworld. So you see, it wasn't like a typical corporate comms play where it seems inauthentic and it's just shared by the company. Dominic has an active voice on the platform about themes and subjects that are actually connected to Barterworld, but that are so important to him. And that, again, creates employees that want to work with or for Dominic. That creates customers that want to do business with a man that is so authentic and that is so passionate. And then for stakeholders and media and government, he's seen as a positive face for our continent. So how do we do this now with the other leaders and the other sales professionals, the marketers, etc.? And then stay on top of leading ideas in your industry. There's a fantastic tool called LinkedIn Elevate. It is free to engage on. Here is where content, you can actually set up searches, set up tags. Whenever someone globally or within the industries or the verticals or the locations you want to be a part of, you can actually be fed with this content. And again, a nice way to lead with insight.
Again, you can even just follow hashtags. There's
100%.
certain hashtags that you can follow that are related to the industry in which you're trying to sell into. So that when you go into those meetings, you're bringing new ideas, fresh ideas to a conversation and not selling.
And then again, I mean, using insights, can you see the little box on the left where it says, hello, Samantha? I can actually, again, treat this like an inbound lead gen type of system, in that I can see who's engaging with content. I can then go and reach out to them and say, hey, I saw you like my article. Would you like to have a chat around how content needs to be natural versus, corporately generated, etc.? Or do you want to have a chat around how my product could potentially save you this cost saving that you're looking for, etc.? So use those data and insights. So thank you. I think that brings us to the end of our presentation. That's definitely Stuart with the head going sideways and I'm on the side. But it was so great to chat to you. I'm so sorry we've gone a little bit over time, but I really hope we've inspired you. If you haven't already taken the leap as a social leader, you're now feeling inspired and empowered to at least start thinking about it.
Definitely start thinking about building that personal brand that speaks to your audience, that speaks to the customers, that speaks to the executives that you're trying to engage. And like Sam said, it's all about multi-threading. It's no longer one person who signs off on a deal. It's 7 people.
Yeah, 7 point something, was it?
Yeah, 6.8
Yeah.
people. I don't know about the 0.8, but anyway, let's call it 7 people that you're trying to influence, that you're trying to engage. And you obviously can't reach all 7 on your own. So leverage the technology. You already have a LinkedIn profile right now.
And it's free. Everything
free.
I've told you about today was absolutely free and at no cost.
That's it.
Okay.
Absolutely free. We've got to wrap it up. Like we said, this is going to be a recorded session, so I'm going to make it available for you to watch and again to see some of the slides that Sam has presented today. I thank you for the questions. Everyone who was online, thank you very much. Normally I would take time to call you out one by one. Not going to do that. It's Friday. I wish you and yours a happy weekend. Take care of yourself. And of course, as we always say, it's time to shine. Thank you very much.
Happy Friday, everybody. Big love back to Africa, and we'll see you soon.
Show some love online.
Have a great one, guys. Love from Sam and Stu. Peace out.
Peace out. Let me do this. Oh, I love it. Oh.
There we go.
Oh, let's get that Friday vibe going, Sam. Let me stop that share.
Bye-bye, guys. Have a great day. Bye.
Africa, we thank you for your time. Whoopsie daisy, we thank you for your time. We thank you that you're going to share this with other people on the platform. Each one teach one. Ubuntu. This is us. This is how we do it.
Ubuntu, Ngobantu. There we go.
Say it again, Sam.
Ubuntu, Ubuntu, Ngobantu.
That's it. Let's help each other. That's the only way we can grow.
We are
Let's
people through other people.
and let's intentionally, meaningfully connect with each other. So when you reach out after this session, give people a reason to connect with you, not to sell.
Have a great Friday, everybody. Bye.
Awesome. Cheers. All right. Awesome. Sam, you got to get into that Friday mode.
Friday
I'm
mode.
not seeing you on that Friday mode.